Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank TIA for this opportunity to present. I'm going to, while they're setting up the presentation, I thought I'll talk about automotive and the future of mobility, and the question mark is mobility ever going to be sustainable? Unfortunately, if you see today, 16% of the pollution is contributed by automotive. That's the reason you see lot of regulations coming into picture. While this industry is truly evolving, transforming over 5 years, I would say some of the futures are evolutionary in nature, like connected, autonomous. It's more driven by consumer preferences. Whereas, if you talk about electrification, it's driven by regulations. Given an opportunity, you and me don't want to buy an electric car today. Especially in India, it costs at least 30 to 40% more than what it costs in the other parts of the world because they get a subsidy. Unfortunately, India is not a rich country. We can't give subsidies for a luxury product. So that's the reason you see there's offtake of passenger vehicles, especially on the electrification, is still very small. But certainly there is a business case for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and also buses, for intra-city buses. And you see there are a lot of, today, more than 50% of the three-wheeler sales are electric. I think it's a matter of time that 100% they'll move over to, a couple of years they move over to 100%. And buses, very similar. I think all the governments are very much committed. All the new buses, what they're adding are all electric. There's a business case. And it's a matter of time that whenever the battery cost reaches $100 per kilowatt hour, there is a business case that it will cost same as internal combustion engine today. Okay, so talking about, if you look at this the trust barometer, I would say, is a good dipstick to gauge the sentiment. This is the result of annual trust and credibility survey that happened last year. Based on businesses, governments, NGOs, and the media. Respondents were nearly 28 countries. Businesses that are socially responsible can also appear more attractive to investors. Investments in CSR are not really typically viewed as investors as a waste of money. Certainly, I think people are becoming much more conscious over a period of time. And also, if you look at the results, more than ever before, organizations are facing pressure to publicly address cultural, societal, and political events. However, companies are unfortunately failing to rise to the challenge, and this is the result and meet these expectations. For example, 52% of the respondents claimed that businesses are not doing enough to address climate change, and only 9% of the respondents talked about overstepping by engaging really well. If you look at the major developments in the sustainability, certainly I think sustainability as an industry and a trade policy, I'm sure all of you are aware from 2026, there's going to be a CO2 tax in Europe for every import. So as India, if you want to export to Europe, if you don't use sustainable practices, you have to pay a CO2 tax. That means you'll never be competitive. Talking about massive expansion of sustainability regulations, one such regulation in India which government bought in was Euro 6. We moved from Euro 4 to Euro 6. Now we are in line with European regulations. Yeah, even Europe also differing the Euro 7 regulations. They are still at 6, and it's becoming expensive. That's the reason if you see the take rate of diesel cars have come down drastically, and today it's less than 30%. No, people have moved to gasoline cars. Third is sustainability finance is getting up. If you have to talk about one example, what Conti did, 3 years back, all the senior executives' incentives are not linked to the financial outcome of the company, but to the sustainability targets. So if we meet those sustainability targets, our long-term incentives are linked to that. So we were the first company in Europe to link the salaries and the incentives to sustainability targets. So Among the tier one suppliers, we were the first one to come and make an announcement on the goal what we have for sustainability. That's way back in December 2020. After that, you see a lot of car manufacturers, including countries like, for example, Germany. Germany said on 3rd March, they will achieve zero neutrality by 2050. Similarly, the target for Continental is 2040, we will achieve zero neutrality across all our operations. And 2050, we will achieve zero neutrality within the complete value chain. That means from raw material to tier 1, 2, 3, ourselves, then the vehicle in usage, and to the end of life. That's the value chain what we are talking about. Do we have answers for this? Unfortunately, at this point of time, no. So talking about the changes which has happened within automotive, I see these are the 3 values of transportations which have been changing and also trying to transform over last few years, I would say. The first one is being the usage. We started from speed and started talking about safety and comfort, and slowly we wanted to talk about the quality of time spent inside the car. So this is leading to cars being robo or cars being autonomous mobility, what we call. The second dimension is being environmentally. That's more from the aspect from internal combustion engines to electrification. And the third dimension being, if we talk about Tesla, he started the vehicle. For example, Waymo, they wanted to address the third value, which is more on the shared mobility, and slowly started to add autonomous mobility to that, and they launched the taxi services in California. So some different customers are trying to club different value system to make the vehicles much more efficient and much more sustainable as well. So if you talk about what are driving this, certainly on the left side you see the 5 global trends, which are the societal aspects of it, which includes society, technology, social and political, business and transformation, which led to what we call a case or ACEs within automotive. That's connected, automated, electrified, and shared mobility. So all these are certainly leading, have gained a significant momentum over last 4 to 5 years, post-COVID especially, with profound effects on the customer preferences, technology adoption, and regulations. If I have to give you an example, today, how complicated today's cars are. Today's cars have got 100 million lines of code. If we compare that with F22 or a Dreamliner, it's much, much lower than that. And we are moving towards 1 billion lines of code by 2030. That's the complexity we are looking at in a car. So why are we doing this? To some aspects, I talked about being connected because we have enjoyed all these luxuries at home over a period of time. Then we started enjoying that office. Now we spend a lot of time in our car. We expect cars also to be connected fully if we want to connect with the outside world. But when it comes to car, the complexities are very, very high. That's the reason you have so more complex softwares actually. So we are moving towards what we call as a software-defined vehicle. Today, unfortunately, if I had to give an example, I think iPhone has done a fantastic job. They are able to separate the hardware and the software. Today, for example, iPhone runs on iOS 17, but you can even iPhone 10 can run on that, 11 can run on 12, 13, 14, 15. Whereas today in the automotive industry, we are not able to separate the hardware and the software. That's the biggest challenge. That's why there are a lot of innovation which is currently underway. If you're able to do this, then cars become much more efficient, much more sustainable. So what are the benefits of the software-defined vehicle? You see first certainly the new business models. Today for OEMs, at the point of sale, they rent their business. But with the software-defined Apple, during the entire life cycle, you will be able to earn some of the other revenues. For example, recently, a couple of months back, BMW launched in Germany, you have the seating cooling feature or the warming feature. You can get it on demand. You don't use that for the entire year, but you pay when you want it during the winters. You get it for 6 months. It gets uploaded from the software and use it as a heating function, and you need not pay. So that's a sort of possibilities what we see in the software-defined vehicle. Second one, certainly the open architecture, which allows for the third party. Third one is a lot of compression in terms of launching new vehicles. Today, a lot of energy, resource is being spent in designing and launching a new vehicle. Even today, if you want to launch a new vehicle, it takes 36 months. Maybe some Indian OEMs will be able to do 24 months, but not less than that. Look at the amount of efforts which goes into that, but with software-defined vehicle, because your ability to take forward the software, which helps in compressing the total development time. What we talk is code to road in 1 day. That's the target what we are working. Today, I think there's only one company who can do that. That's Tesla, where you can complete development and testing at 8 p.m. and tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. he can upload the new software across the fleet. Today, conventional companies are able to do, unfortunately not yet. So that's another advantage you get from this thing. And also reduce testing efforts. So you'll be able to do a lot of parallel testing in the cloud. So these are some of the things which are happening in the software-defined vehicle, which reduces almost 50% of the energy today it consumes directly or indirectly during the development process. Also, Conti did a mobility study in 2022, and these were the 3 highlights. The first one, maybe can you click on that? I don't know. The first one. Yeah. Look at this picture. Over a period of time, people are ready to pay more money for a sustainable vehicle. And these are across the regions. Look at China. Maybe couple of years back, only 21% of the respondents said we are ready to pay more for a sustainable vehicle, but today they're talking about 73%. And it's also proven today. More than 40% of the output of China's car industry is electric car, today electric car. Very similarly, though Germany is a little late, and France is a little late, but you see the adoption rate every year increasing, every year it multiplies. Just click at the top of the right. Yeah, click on the. And also 70% of the respondents clearly said that they expect politicians to be much more sensitive and also have more attention, especially on the emission and also generation of renewable energy. Go back. Last one. And this is the third aspect. People increasingly pay attention to the certification of sustainable production as well as to compliance with the human rights. That's the reason today if you talk about GDDL, which is German due diligence law, which came into effect on 1st of Jan, which is applicable for all the German companies operating across globe, that you need to follow this principle, and the penalties are huge. If you violate that, the penalty will be about 3% of your total revenues. That is government's talking about. So what we really see, it's a combination of, I would say, 3 things: technology, consumer behavior, and regulation, which is shaping the future of mobility. Regulations more so from the government side, and consumer behavior, that's also you saw the first slide, which talked about people ready to pay little extra for a sustainable product. What are those examples which I can talk about as a vehicle? This is the electrical electronics architecture. If you look at today's car, every car runs about 70 to 100 ECUs, what we call as embedded control units. But unfortunately, which are not very compatible if you want to make it as an IoT expanded this thing. So slowly they are moving towards what we call as HPC, high performance computer. The predictions is maybe by 2030, like how your mobile phone runs on operating system, there could be a Continental operating system or a Bosch operating system or a Volkswagen operating system, so the one single computer running the entire vehicle. That's the complexity we are looking about. Today we are in between. We are talking about HPCs for the domain. There are 4 domains, one for chassis, one for interiors, one for cockpit, and one for powertrain. So these HPCs finally getting merged into one single HPC is what is the future prediction. So, and also this makes it much more faster in terms of computation, and also reduced weight, because that's very important for vehicle to be efficient. If I have to give you an example, approximately 1 kg reduction in electric vehicle leads to an increase in 7 kilometers of range. You could look at, if you are able to reduce more weight than its ability to, for a given wattage, for the given battery power, this in grams. The other one is brakes, because brakes consumes a lot of energy. So how do we make it more efficient so that we can regenerate the vehicle? And this is one good example, what we call as actuated sound. In an high-end vehicle, today you see nearly about 18 to 20 speakers. It weighs about 40 kgs. This is the innovation which Continental came out, where there are no speakers required. It uses the existing surface like cockpit or the door trims or the roof liners to actuate the sound, resonate the sound, and still you get that immersive feeling without any reduction in quality. Just imagine if you are able to reduce 40 kgs of weight in a car, and that too in an electric car. So these are some of the examples. Last one, if I have to talk about tire, unfortunately everything is black, but how do you ensure that you make it more environmental friendly? This is one such example. We are the first company to talk about make tire rubber extracted from a dandelion weed, which is 100% cycle. So, okay, this is my last slide, okay. So, we all think electric cars are very efficient, but unfortunately it is not so. So, look at the 3 parameters, the last dark gray, the energy which is required to produce an IC engine car versus the energy which is required to produce a battery power car, it's almost 2.5 times. That's the total energy which consumes versus 22%. Whereas electric cars, later on it reduces your greenhouse gas. But unfortunately you are shifting that from wheels to somewhere else. That is, unless we are able to produce complete renewable energy across for the energy development and the energy generation, we'll never be able to achieve the sustainable, what we call as a zero tailpipe emission for an electric car. So with that, sorry for time. Thank you very much. Thank you.